Prime. The missing agenda, immunity for heads of state debate shelved in the ongoing ICC state parties meeting.
The days of colonialism or other such patronizing relations between countries are over.
You are not a genuine friend, Kenya tells Britain in the light of ICC cases.
New Nakada boss, Parliament rejects its committee's report and gives Mututho a nod. And a suspected witch doctor's property destroyed by angry residents in Muranga.
This is KTN Prime with Yvonne Okwara and Wilson Mburu.
Well, a very good evening to you, and we are glad you're watching KTN Prime, the most comprehensive bulletin this part of Africa.
Indeed, welcome to our bulletin tonight. And let's start off right there with matters ICC. Africa's quest to protect its leaders from standing trial at the International Criminal Court has inched one step closer. The Assembly of State Parties, which kicked off today, will tomorrow begin debating the motion by Africa to grant presidents immunity.
Shamuelu begins our bulletin with today's opening session that also opened a fresh can of worms within diplomatic circles.
The day African countries had waited for with bated breath finally saw the light. For the 12th time, all state parties to the Rome Statute would assemble at The Hague, and this time, African nations would drive the agenda. Even though Wednesday's session was a mere curtain raiser to the 8-day assembly, the intrigue surrounding the Kenyan cases at the ICC took center stage. African nations were ready to table their proposed amendments to the Rome Statute, seeking to grant sitting heads of states and their deputies immunity from being indicted by the court. But they were in for a rude surprise, as this issue had not been included in the day's agenda. Instead, a proposal by Britain to allow President Kenyatta to follow his trial via video link had been adopted into the agenda, sending Kenya's tempers flaring straight to the roof. This statement by Foreign Affairs Ministry followed swiftly, questioning the decision to replace Africa's motion with that of Britain. Even though the Assembly eventually adopted Africa's motion into its agenda and scheduled to have it discussed on Thursday afternoon, the move left a bitter taste lingering within Kenya's National Assembly.
Hatukutuma Uingereza iende tutafutie sisi video link. Haikuuliza serikali ya Kenya, haikuuliza rais, haikuuliza makamu wa rais, haikuuliza bunge.
After yielding some ground, yielding some gains at the Assembly of State Parties at The Hague. So we've decided, in fairness and to give everybody a fair chance, to postpone the motion until we get the feedback from The Hague.
As the diplomatic tiffs intensified, a more complex battle was raging on. ICC prosecutor Fatou Bensouda filed an urgent application at the ICC Trial Chamber 5 to have Ruto attend Thursday's proceedings. Ruto had been initially exempted due to President Kenyatta's trip to Kuwait. Bensouda argues that Ruto's excuse holds no ground, as he was slated to head the Kenyan delegation at the Assembly of State Parties. The prosecutor further wants Ruto restrained from debating at the Assembly of State Parties, where the case against him would feature. Thursday's afternoon session, where African states will debate their motion, is now much awaited as Kenya seeks its final push to quash the cases against Kenyatta and Ruto at the ICC. Ashamwilu, KTN.
The Big Q in association with Kenya Power.
Now, of course, that story by Asha Mwilu brings us to our big Q tonight, and we are asking, do you support Britain's recommendations to try President Uhuru Kenyatta via video link? Do you support Britain's recommendations to try President Uhuru Kenyatta via video link?
Please send us your comments. Start with a yes or no, followed by a brief comment to the number 22155. You can also send us your comments on Twitter at KTN Kenya, at Wilson_Mburu, and at Yvonne Okwara. Remember, we will give you the news call at the end of this live newscast, so keep your comments coming.
Get power information right at your fingertips. Dial *551# Kenya Power.
Now, a fresh diplomatic row is brewing between Kenya and the United Kingdom. A section of Jubilee MPs are accusing Britain of attempting to sabotage Kenya's agenda at the Assembly of State Parties meeting in The Hague.
The MPs say Britain's amendment on video conference facilities for accused persons at the ICC is in bad faith. But the UK government says it has tabled the proposal in a constructive and helpful spirit. Rita Tanina reports on the Kenya-UK diplomatic fallout.
For the past couple of years, relations between Kenya and its former colonial master, the United Kingdom, have been rocky. Last Friday's United Nations Security Council meeting, in which the UK abstained alongside 7 other countries, frustrating Kenya's deferral request, may have added to the intrigues in the already complicated relationship. But it is the UK's proposed amendment at the Assembly of State Parties meeting in The Hague that has sparked off the latest row between Kenya and Britain.
The days of colonialism or other such patronizing relations between countries are over.
The UK is proposing an amendment to the ICC rules of procedure that would allow President Uhuru Kenyatta and Deputy President William Ruto to be tried via video conference.
Hatukutuma Uingereza iende tutafutie sisi video link. Haikuuliza serikali ya Kenya.
We sense and we have sensed a lot of ill motive and bad faith in the actions of Britain.
The MPs claim UK's amendment is tailored to water down the motion by the African Union seeking immunity from prosecution for sitting heads of state and government.
The Kenya government knows only one amendment, that of the African Union. So we're telling all and sundry that you are not our attorney, you're not the attorney of Kenyan government and the Kenyan people.
And the UK government was quick to respond. A statement by the British High Commission says some commentators and parliamentarians in Kenya have suggested that the UK proposed amendment on video conferencing is designed to replace or substitute other proposed amendments at the Assembly of State Parties. This is not true. The UK says it has tabled the amendment in a constructive and helpful spirit to address AU concerns. We encourage all parties to enter into these discussions in the same constructive spirit, says the statement. In the past, requests for video link sessions made before the ICC by legal teams representing President Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto were denied.
I'll be shocked if a video link is accepted through an amendment at the state parties.
During last week's UN Security Council meeting, the UK was of the view that continuation of the ICC proceedings does not constitute a threat to international peace and security. For that, MPs want the Kenyan government to take some action.
I expect the president to ask the British to close all their training bases in Kenya. Yeah, and ask them not to issue any more travel advisory.
The video conference row is only the latest in the on and off relations between Nairobi and London. And with Kenya increasingly courting the East, even colonial ties, it appears, will not serve to bind the two countries this time. Rita Tinina, KTN.
Let's move on to security matters now. And as the government seeks to profile former police officers in its war against rising cases of insecurity, insiders in the National Police Service say senior police officers accused of past criminal acts in the line of duty should not be spared as the police service kicks off a vetting process in the next 2 weeks. The Independent Police Oversight Authority that was instrumental in coming up with the vetting rules says there is a near total collapse of the accountability in the police service. KTN's Dennis Onsarigo spoke with the authority chairman and filed the following report.
The 80,000-strong National Police Service members will undergo a vetting process aimed at restoring the image of a police service.
For the police vetting, it is an all-system go. It is no turning back. We are sure it will achieve good results for the police.
The process will first see senior police officers face a vetting panel comprising members drawn from the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, the National Police Service, the National Human Rights and Equality Commission, with the National Police Service Commission overseeing the entire process. The Independent Police Oversight Authority that checks on the excesses of the National Police Service says the move will have far-reaching implications.
That the accountability mechanism within the National Police Service has failed. And so the leadership itself has to examine itself strictly and find out why is it that they are not able to hold their men and women to account.
But the vetting has already run into trouble. The National Police Service has bypassed the National Police Service Commission, appointed and posted county police chiefs. The police bosses were not vetted.
It is the responsibility of the Inspector General to set up the command structure of the National Police Service. We do not believe in appointments that are not done competitively. And that's now where the Inspector General and the National Police Service Commission come in terms of ensuring that this competitive recruitment of the commanders at that county level.
The Kavuludi-led commission has been engaged in supremacy wars with David Kimayo's police service of appointments and deployment, a move that has cast doubts on the much-anticipated vetting process, recalling county commanders already deployed to counties, questioning police operations that have resulted in police excesses by serving police officers, but reportedly carried out in the line of duty, will, according to insiders, put a strain on the vetting process.
It's a serious issue. It has huge economic implications in our country. It has huge implications even on the life expectancy rate of Kenyans. I mean, this goes to the core or the very livelihood of Kenyans. It is something that must be undertaken, but it must be undertaken well.
The vetting exercise kicks off in the next 2 weeks, and the earliest the process will be felt will be sometime in April next year. Benson Sarigo, KTN Prime.
A Cabinet Secretary for Interior and Coordination of National Government, Joseph Olelenku, says the Nyumba Kumi initiative is here to stay because the government initiative aims at ensuring security for all. Speaking during a visit to Committee Maximum Prison, Olelenku sought to dismiss squad leaders who have dismissed the initiative, saying it aims at promoting a police state.
The attack on the Westgate Mall in September has been termed as Kenya's 9/11. The deaths of at least 67 people has put everyone on high alert, thus the government introduction of the Nyumba Kumi initiative. The initiative is based on 10 households being headed by one person within the circle. Noted that the person must be a respectable person elected by other members of the household. The initiative has been adopted from Tanzania and is hoped will enhance community policing. However, since Cabinet Secretary for Interior and Coordination of National Government announced the implementation of the initiative, he has received a lot of criticism, especially from the opposition.
CORD opposes the Nyumba Kumi project and condemns the inability of the government to secure the lives and property of the people.
You don't just wake up one morning and say that's a response to what has happened, we are starting Nyumba Kumi, and that is going to be rolled out.
There has been doubts that this initiative can work in a free society like Kenya and would perhaps thrive in a more socialist state like Tanzania. But despite what his critics say, Olelenku is not budging.
Nyumba Kumi is here to stay. Nyumba Kumi is anchored in the Constitution, Article 244E, and therefore we will not be distracted by political sentiments or political rivalry.
By knowing your neighbors, one can report any suspicious activities and perhaps reduce petty crimes and even perhaps lead to the arrest and capture of more sinister criminals such as the masterminds of the Westgate attack. However, there are concerns of the thin line between enhanced community policing and invasion of privacy. Catherine Omwando, KTN.
John Mututho is now poised to become the new chairman of the National Agency for the Campaign Against Drug Abuse, NACADA, after the National Assembly approved his nomination, overturning a committee report that had recommended his rejection. The MP said that Mututho had shown zeal in the fight against drug abuse and was therefore suited to take up that position.
On Tuesday, it appeared that anti-alcohol campaigner John Mututho stood little chance of becoming the next chair of NACADA, the anti-drug abuse body. The National Security and Administration Committee had proposed to reject his nomination to the position on the grounds that he should clear the pending court cases against him first. But come Wednesday, the tide changed. Members of Parliament banded together against dissenting voices that had deemed Mututho unsuitable for the position.
The reason why they are rejecting this nomination is because of a court case. But they said, the report says by the committee, the case has taken too long to conclude and need to be finalized.
The committee that recommended his rejection had examined a report from the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission. Mututho is facing charges of obtaining just over 40 million shillings by falsely presenting documents that supported his claim that his company had paid tax on bedside lockers to the Kenyatta National Hospital and therefore deserved a refund. The matter is pending in court, but this, the National Assembly argued, should not stand in the way of his securing the position. The MPs argued that barring one from holding office owing to charges pending in court would set a precedent that would have far-reaching consequences, and thus the Majority Chief Whip Kato Olemetito's move to introduce an amendment to the committee's report approving Mututho's nomination was met with an avalanche of support.
It is of the committee view that Mr. Mututho is the best suited for the NACADA job. And then they continue to say, we recommend to the appointing authority that he resubmit his name for reappointment once the case has been cleared by the court.
The principle of innocence until proven guilty. The issue here is Mr. Mututho to wait. If at all the court is going to rule otherwise, it is my humble submission that he should resign. But for this case, Mr. Speaker, sir, I support.
So that on Wednesday afternoon, Mututho's nomination was approved by Parliament. Mututho, the former Naivasha Member of Parliament, is known for sponsoring the Alcoholic Drinks Control Act 2010, popularly referred to as the Mututho Law. He now awaits formal appointment by the President. Bulkisanyabo, KTN.
A 72-year-old man in Kigumo, Murang'a County, escaped death narrowly when a mob raided his home, baying for his blood. Residents are accusing the man of child trafficking and practicing witchcraft. And although he managed to save himself, his livestock was not lucky, as the irate villagers used machetes to attack the animals, leaving them injured.
Smoke still emanating from this house. Everything in the house burned to ashes. Outside the house, livestock suffering from cuts and attacks. They are lucky to be alive. On the farm, massive crop destruction. Villagers did not spare anything in this home in Githima village in Kigumo district of Murang'a County, belonging to a 72-year-old man whom they believe to be a witch doctor. Residents claim a 6-year-old girl from the village who went missing last week was found locked in a suitcase in the man's house.
Sasa wakati tulionekana sisi tutaingia kila nyumba, sasa mwenye boma mmoja akatoroka, sijui alienda kuficha mtoto ama walienda kufanya nini, lakini tumefanikiwa kupata huyo mtoto kwa hiyo nyumba.
They added that they raided the man's house as they suspected he could also be involved in child trafficking. Angry residents claimed this was not the first incident. Early this month, another girl went missing for 2 days and was later found in the same house.
Now we are investigating to pinpoint the people who spearheaded that action. We must arrest them and take them to court.
Kigumo OCPD John Katumo said the man is in police custody as investigations over the matter are currently underway. Angel Katusia, KTN.
The Western Gishu County Assembly has repealed a controversial proposal to tax farmers for animal rearing and crop farming after the proposal came under massive opposition from area residents. This was one of the proposals contained in the Western Gishu County Finance Bill 2013 that was passed by the County Assembly. The repealed article had proposed to tax every farmer 2,000 shillings for rearing cattle and a further 2,000 shillings per year for planting maize, wheat and other crops. Further, individuals rearing pets in Western Gishu County will be required to pay 500 shillings annually for dogs and 200 shillings for cats, while those who keep snakes will have to pay 1,500 shillings per year. Meanwhile, individuals who may want to use the Kipchoge Stadium for public and political functions will have to part with up to 120,000 shillings, while those hosting sporting events will be required to pay 50,000 shillings. Individuals or groups providing media coverage during sporting or cultural events will also be required to pay a fee of up to 10,000 shillings.
The Big Q in association with Kenya Power.
Now we are about to take a short break now, but not before we remind you of a Big Q tonight. And the question is, do you support Britain's recommendations to try President Uhuru Kenyatta via video link? Do you support Britain's recommendations to try President Uhuru Kenyatta via video link?
You can send us your views on text message. The number is 22155. Start with a yes or no for your comment to count. And you can also send us a tweet at KTN Kenya, at Yvonne Okwara, at Wilson_Mburu. Here is one. Njenga Mishugu, you say it's a fair compromise. Less time spent chest thumping gives Kenya more time to improve the quality of life in our nation.
Before we go on the break, let's take one text message here. And it's Kathy from Mburu who says, no, video link would be okay if it were used for all presidents and not just Kenyans. ICC is no longer partisan. It is being used by the big daddies to further destabilize Africa.
Indeed, keep your comments coming in and we'll continue to sample them throughout this bulletin.
Get power information right at your fingertips. Dial *551# Kenya Power.
Time to take a short break now, but don't you go away. We'll be back with more.
Yeah.
Revisiting the colonial torture chambers on KTN's Kenya Art 50 series.
You're watching KTN Prime.
We're glad you're watching KTN Prime. Welcome back.
A delay in the delivery of a joint survey report on Migingo Island border points, an exercise that cost the government 140 million shillings, is escalating friction between the two countries over Migingo Island. Western Regional Commissioner James Oleserian, who was leading the Kenyan delegation at the Kenya-Uganda Joint Border Technical Summit, made the revelation today in Kisumu. Leading Uganda's delegation was President Yoweri Museveni's advisor, Mohamed Sadiq Mayanja, who requested more disarmament programs to mop up illegal firearms along the shared northern border. The meeting comes after Uganda imposed an 80,000 shilling annual tax on fishermen on the island.
Due to the challenge of communication, or rather breakdown in communication, you are not able to bring your surveyors to the ground. And therefore, I think we'll discuss on the way forward on that matter so that the matter can be resolved in the shortest time possible, but very soon.
Since the launch of that program, we in Uganda have registered tremendous success and recovered 30,924 guns. These guns are capable of equipping about 10 military brigades.
The 4 Westgate terror suspects were today arraigned in a Nairobi court to face terror-related charges and being in the country illegally. One of the suspects, Aden Abdikadir, denied the charges, saying he is a bona fide Kenyan citizen with property in Nairobi's Eastleigh estate. And a woman in Nyeri town was nabbed shoplifting. This and other stories are next on our news roundup.
Aden Abdikadir, one of the Westgate's terror suspects, is seeking to be released on bail, saying that he's a Kenyan born in Mandera County. The father of 2 told the court that he's a trained madrasa teacher and owned a school in Nairobi's Eastleigh estate. Aden is charged alongside 4 others for supporting terror activities. Mary Nyawera was caught red-handed with 2 sachets of drinking chocolate under her armpits, with each sachet valued at 395 shillings. Mary's accomplice escaped before security personnel pounced on them. To the surprise of many, Nyawera confessed to having thought of stealing a packet of flour, but later changed her mind. 3 residents of Muiga in Nyeri County have been arrested for allegations of growing bang following public outcry. Mary Wanja, who is said to be cultivating the illegal herb, together with her sons, pleaded with the authorities to pardon her. The other 2 suspects, Simon Muredi and David Mwangi, alias King David, are being held at the Muiga police station. Former Chief Whip George Thuo will be buried on Friday at his Thika home. President Uhuru Kenyatta, who was a close friend of the deceased, is among dignitaries expected to attend the burial. The cause of the sudden death of the former Juja MP is yet to be known. Finally, African Nazarene University Chancellor Lea Marango was today featured with the Global Peace Award 2013. Daniel Juma, Executive Director of Global Peace Foundation, nominated Lea Marango for the efforts in providing peace leadership in the country and beyond. Winnie Kamau, KTN. Uhuru Gardens will remain closed starting tomorrow to allow the historic site to be renovated ahead of the Kenya at 50 celebrations. The venue will host celebrations on the eve of Jamhuri Day. The Kenya at 50 steering committee is urging the private sector to participate and sponsor some of the projects that will feature in the celebrations. Sports and Culture Cabinet Secretary Hassan Mario revealed that the committee will oversee the renovations at the grounds where President Uhuru Kenyatta will be hoisting the Kenyan flag to symbolize the country's independence.
This is truly a Kenyan partnership because 50 years of Kenya's independence cuts across the government and the private sector. And we still want to encourage members of the private sector to keep working with us and the wananchi to keep working with us so that we have a successful and a historic 50-year celebration.
Now, it is not in doubt that events that precede the celebrations of Jamhuri Day take freedom fighters who participated in the liberation struggle down memory lane. In Mburu area of Mukurweini, Nyeri, a concentration camp that houses torture chambers is a painful reminder of what transpired at a time when they fought viciously in the forest.
The land has since been converted to a secondary school, but old colonial offices and one torture chamber still exist. The monuments are a preservation of Kenya's history. KTN's senior reporter Carol Nderi visited Mburu Mau Mau concentration camp and brings us the following story.
Kenya taifa letu tukufu, Kenya tunayopenda. Kenya taifa letu tukufu, Kenya tunayopenda. Kenya nchi tunayoipenda. Kenya nchi tunayoipenda. Tumekataa. Tumekataa. Mzogo mweupe.
This area is well known to residents of Mburu area in Mukurweini in the county of Nyeri. And those who survived the Mau Mau uprising in the 50s know the pains of this place, formerly a detention camp that contained torture chambers and now a school. The memories they have of Mburu, 8 kilometers from Mukurweini town, are painful to say the least. Those captured in the forests by the colonialists found themselves at the Mburu camp, where they were tortured till they confessed to the crimes leveled against them, real or imagined. Most of those who pass through this torture chamber here in Mukurweini are overcome by emotion when they visit the place. But what they're asking Kenyans, and particularly the younger generation, is to remember what it took to save Kenya from the yoke of colonialism. Ombogo Kagonyo would rather not recount the ordeal he survived at the torture chambers. He and many others who were captured and hauled to Mburu camp shudder at the mere memories of the torture chambers.
Nasikia ushugu kwa roho yangu, sababu nilikuwa ninaona ile tulikuwa tunafanyiwa, sasa nikasikia ushugu kabisa.
These old buildings, which are part of Mburu Secondary School, served as colonial offices. This torture chamber, devoid of ventilation or any sort of light, was where the suspects were detained and tortured. Ombogo says he's lucky to be alive, as some of his peers succumbed to injuries inflicted on them during the torture. Survivors of the infamous torture say the colonial interrogators would nip their private parts with pliers.
Tukatoka Manyani, nikaenda Mwea, tukatoka Mwea, tukaenda Kagobiri. Basi tukiletwa hapa, tunakuta watikali wale wanatujua, wanafika, wanaanza kutupiga, hata tukapigwa pale ya siri. Tunafinywa na furaisi.
Captain Collins Wanderi, who hails from the area, explains further.
Hapa ndio walikuwa wanashukwa, wanakadamizwa, wanafinywa, ndio mtu anatoa siri.
Those perceived to be hardcore criminals were first brought to Mburu before being taken to other far-flung areas.
Ukikaguliwa hapa, unaonekana wewe kwamba wewe wanaitwa hardcore. Walikuwa wanapelekwa sasa sehemu za Manyani, wanapelekwa sehemu za Hola.
Retired President Daniel Arap Moi's signature can be seen in the visitor's book. He visited the school twice, and he's the one who, after consultations with the community, gave back the land to them after they requested for a school to be built there. Retired President Mwai Kibaki also visited the school. The school authorities are, however, complaining of a negligence by the state. They say they have been shouldering the responsibility of preserving the monuments at the expense of normal school operations. Letters to the Kenya National Museums, they say, have gone unanswered.
Yeah, if we are supported, we would also want to have a library.
The school, it has been very expensive to preserve those buildings. You see now, most of them are, the teachers are living in, and you see some of them are also old and leaking.
But although the community is bitter about what transpired here at Mburu, they are supportive of the school and hope that the younger generations will retell the story and preserve the history. Carol Nderi for KTN in Nyeri County.
Shangilie Kenya, taifa letu tukufu, Kenya tunayoipenda. Shangilie Kenya, taifa letu tukufu, Kenya tunayoipenda.
And indeed, join us every day up until December the 12th for more about your country as we celebrate 50 years. Right now, we want to talk business, and Bonnie Tunya is in our business studio. Bonnie, looks like the property market is picking up in Machakos County. All roads lead there, right?
That's right. Everyone is trying to set up a home outside Nairobi because owning a home, let alone a piece of land within meters of Nairobi city is too expensive, and so people are going to Kitengela and Machakos City. But also I'll tell you why banks have delayed into the one-day check clearance process. All that coming up in business.
Kenya launches a 5-year industrialization roadmap to turn its fortunes.
Watching KTN Prime.
Good evening, this is Business. My name is Bonnie Tunya. Kenya has launched a 5-year industrialization plan that it hopes will catapult it to a middle-income economy by the year 2030. As a first step, the government says it has planned to set up special economic zones and free trade areas in every county of this country. Philip Kitani explains.
For nearly 50 years now, industrialization talk has been a key pillar in government. However, this has been matched with little or no action, resulting into a stagnation of the process. This has even put in doubt the Vision 2030 economic blueprint.
We have come from far, we are far, and we are headed far. We must not give up. And specifically, we must not let excessive red tape, sloth, and pride of the typical Kenyan civil servant stand in our way.
With the launch of the 5-year roadmap, analysts will be watching if finally the government will come out of its big talk and no action state and do something tangible. However, the state says its proposed special economic zones and free trade zones will be the first steps in the journey of 1,000 miles.
Today in Nairobi, it takes 32 days and 40% of income per capita to start a business, to register a business. In Rwanda, right next door, it takes 3 days and it costs 4% of income per capita. Now, Kenya can very easily fix that.
Some of the key sectors identified in pushing this agenda include the textile and clothing industries, agro-processing, furniture, expansion of areas under irrigation, modernization of agriculture, establishment of disease-free zones to support development of the livestock sector, among others.
The aspirations that we have set are very ambitious, and we must shoot for that ambition as much as we can. And it may not be a smooth 10% year in, year out, but we may have some major contributors towards the end to help us move towards that.
Coupled with these sectors will be the already up and running infrastructure projects as well as state assurance to increase budgetary allocations in core efficiency enhancing areas over the next 5 years. Philip Ketan, KTN Business.
All right, let's talk numbers now. And Cooperative Bank has registered a 19% growth in its pre-tax profit for the first 9 months of the year 2013 to record 8.91 billion shillings compared to last year's 7.49 billion shillings. Now, the lender's total asset grew by 16% from last year's 197.7 billion shillings to settle at just about 228.8 billion shillings for the period under review. Despite this growth, the bank's total operating expenses grew by 23%, with the bank's executives attributing the rise to the bank's investment in ICT infrastructure, as well as the regional expansion into new markets like Southern Sudan. The period under review saw the bank carry out a cost rationalization exercise that saw the redeployment of staff to newly opened branches. Cooperative Bank is Kenya's third largest bank by asset base. Staying at the bank, and single-day check clearance by commercial banks is a key issue in the quest to regional hub as a country. However, as Joy Doreen Bira now reports, only few banks are yet to put the truncation into full process.
August 2013 saw a milestone as commercial banks were expected to begin clearing checks in 1 day to increase the cash flow. The check truncation system known as T+1 has seen banks across the country benefit a great deal.
The fate of the check, because the transmission is transmitted electronically, the process is much faster, and then two, is much more efficient, because you have converted what was initially manual into an electronic process. So it's much more efficient. And then thirdly, it's much safer.
The checks clearing cycle, which affects checks denominated in Kenyan shillings only, has seen a 1 day reduction in time taken for banks to process interbank checks. However, this also presents a set of challenges to the financial institutions.
Initially, where the collecting bank just received the check, compiled everything, took it to the clearing house, and then it was the responsibility of the paying bank upon receiving the actual physical check that you then check against the record you have on file.
While the new system has seen an upsurge in the volumes of checks being processed at the automated clearing house, the collecting bank is responsible for identifying and processing only genuine checks and image quality of the checks, as well as visible alterations of the face of the checks that are lost after truncation. The Kenya Bankers Association adds that while this is a step in seeing Kenya achieve financial hub in the region, banks ought to be cautious.
Got to become very innovative, and also they have got to maintain a very close touch with the client to ensure that their controls are still in place, despite the reduction in number of days. So you don't have as much time as you initially had, but you still have got to put in enough controls.
Joy Doreen Bira, KTN Business.
Kenya continues to be on the receiving end of relations with its key trade partners. Exports have grown by a measly 0.8%, while imports grew by triple that on the annual basis. In the year 2012, for example, the country's exports stood at 517 billion shillings, while imports accounted for 1.3 trillion shillings. However, the Kenyan National Chamber of Commerce and Industry says the trend could be reversed if Kenya re-evaluates its trade focus, especially into the new markets and Asia and the Middle East. Now, on its part, the government is keen on wooing African nations with efforts in breaking existing trade barriers that have left the intra-African trade at a paltry 5%. Right, the county government of Machakos has been in the news owing to what most considers being an ambitious development program spearheaded by its governor. And with proposed city taking shape, investors, especially in the property market, are also making way into the county. Take a look.
Haron Nyamboki is one investor who is literally making hay while the sun is shining. He is upbeat of a housing project that he says is anchored on the dreams of the Machakos County Governor, Dr. Alfred Mutua.
The governor here is upbeat. He has already sent his officers to tour this area, and they have already made indications that they are going to provide the infrastructure. This is already planned for the survey for the road especially has been done, and the rest, the trunk sewer line is already in place, nearly 90% complete. So, and that's it.
While the property industry in the country has remained one-sided, with demand outstripping supply, pricing has remained a key issue. This has seen a number of would-be homeowners, especially in major cities and towns, shy away from the property market. According to its latest property market index, House Consult indicate that costly financing is a major factor in the slow uptake of products in the industry. But according to Nyamboki, he is one investor keen on changing the rules of the games.
For those units that we have already constructed, we are allowing people to come and stay. Instead of paying rent, they are accumulating deposit. For the ones that are to be constructed, we are also allowing those that will express interest. We allow them time, say between 12 and 18 months, to accumulate their deposit as they're also organizing for their mortgage.
With such a home ownership plan, Nyamboki is already considering putting up a second phase of the project that will see him develop new units within the 40-acre parcel in the Lukenya area. The new phase, he says, will also be dependent on customers' liking and preferences.
We'll be constructing about 3,000 apartments, ranging from studio apartments, one-bedroom apartment, two-bedroom apartment, and three-bedroom apartment. And they are appropriately priced for the target market.
The project, the developer says, rides on the robust development plans of the Machakos County that will see it have better access road as well as water and sanitation. As it stands, Nyamboki says he is ready to change the game through the ownership plan that is modeled akin to the tenant purchase scheme of yesteryears.
An upstart can come and get into the house without necessarily having a full deposit for the house. We can give them plenty of time to accumulate the deposit, provided they have the ultimate mortgage financier. So we can give them, say, 6 months, or depending on what needs they have, we can extend.
Joseph Bonyo, KTN Business.
Great. So Dr. Alfred Mutua is not too ambitious after all. Let's take a look at how your money is working for you with a visit at the Nairobi Securities Exchange. Also a look at how the Kenya shilling is rallying against world majors coming up next.
The Financial Report in association with Total.
At Total, we provide high-quality fuels to all our customers, even the most demanding ones. Total, you know where to turn.
special report in association with Total.
At Total, we provide high-quality fuels to all our customers, even the most demanding ones. Total, you know where to turn.
KTN Business in association with Safaricom Self-Care.
To get your M-Pesa statement, PUK, Bonga Points, and more without calling customer care or visiting a Safaricom shop, simply log on to www.safaricom.co.ke and click on Self-Care.
Great, that's all we had in business on the day that Everready was the biggest losing counter, going down 6%. I'll see you tomorrow night. Yvonne?
Thank you very much for that, Bonnie Tunya. Another day of business tomorrow, definitely. Let's have a recap for you of our top story on KTN Prime tonight. And Africa's quest to protect its leaders from standing trial at the International Criminal Court has inched one step closer. The Assembly of State Parties, which kicked off today, will tomorrow begin debating the motion by Africa to grant presidents immunity. This as it emerged that the agenda had been shelved following Britain's proposal to have Kenyan leaders tried via video link. Leaders in the country are, however, rejecting Britain's proposal, saying Britain has been insincere to Kenya when dealing with matters ICC.
Now let's take a recap of our big question tonight, and we did ask, do you support Britain's recommendations to try President Uhuru Kenyatta via video link? Do you support Britain's recommendations to try President Uhuru Kenyatta via video link?
And here are some of your views. VJ Onduso, you say hypocrisy. Britain is being hypocritical. Let the course of justice not be disrupted.
This one says, yes, if I remember very well, it was our Honorable President's first wish, together with the Deputy, to follow proceedings via video link.
Nyakundi Douglas, you say, no, no, no. It is my humble submission to see the President in the dock of the ICC because I don't see anybody considering the victims.
There's another no here that says the President should attend his trial at the ICC as he had promised.
And another one, Dennis Ogola, saying he should attend personally and stop castigating the West. The warning came much, much earlier. And those are your views. Please keep them coming in on Twitter and on text message, and we will definitely continue to sample them and give you the poll result at the end of this live newscast.
Absolutely. But right now we'll take a short break. But don't you go away, because I will be back with the day's sports.
Coming up in sports, Sekafa Senior Challenge Cup teams are expected in Nairobi at the weekend.
We will tell you how Africa's iconic leader Nelson Mandela is faring.
Sisi katika Kenya hii yetu zote tutaishi hapa hapa na tutakuwa humu na hakuna mtu atahama, na wewe mwenyewe hutaweza kuondoa yeyote.
You're watching KTN Prime. KTN Sports.
The Kenya Airways Classic Safari Rally title holder Bjorn Waldegard is asking fellow competitors to write him off at their own peril. Waldegard said among the 63 competitors set to rev off tomorrow in search of glory, he will be navigated by his son Matthias Waldegard.
Come to a rally like this, the aim is to win, but there are many other drivers who like to beat Mr. Waldegard, so I have to work hard if I should win again, but I will try. I got 70 years old the other day, but if I get another invitation to do the classic East African Safari Rally, I will come if my body allows it. No plans for retiring. Motorsport and rallies is too funny, so I can't stop it.
Now, the only surviving Kenyan boy in the ITF East African Under-18 tennis tournament first leg circuit, Ibrahim Yego, was tossed out of the competition as the tournament entered the quarter-final phase at the Mombasa Sports Club. The 16th seed, Yego, had a good run after getting a walkover in the first round and beating Burundi's Ntamba Rajabu 2-6, 7-5 and 6-3 in the second round. His good run was checked this morning by the 4th seed Mattia Bedolo of Italy, 6-1 and 6-2. In other matches, 3rd seed Shiritsi Das of India beat Zoya Malsheva of Russia, 6-2 and 6-4, while Giacomo Adosecchi of Italy defeated Mexico's Jose Mauricio, 7-5 and 6-1. 6th seed Tomislav Antoliak of Croatia floored Kenya's Langat Chariot 6-0, 6-3.
KTN Sports.
Now let's get to our news ender tonight. And Africa's former president Nelson Mandela remains quite ill and unable to speak because of tubes that are keeping his lungs clear of fluids, though he is relaxed.
This is according to his former wife, Winnie Madikizela. However, Mandela's former wife shot down reports that the former anti-apartheid leader and Nobel Peace Prize winner was on life support.
Now, Mandela has been in intensive medical care at his Johannesburg home since being discharged on September 1st after nearly 3 months in a hospital for a recurring lung infection.
Mandela served a single 5-year term as president of South Africa, and afterward he focused on charitable causes, including the fight against HIV. He withdrew from public life years ago.
Now, Mandela's last appearance was in the 2010 World Cup at the soccer tournament, which was hosted by South Africa. At that time, he bundled against the cold, but waved but did not speak to the stadium full of fans.
I'm going to look like a peacock.
The Big Q in association with Kenya Power.
It's time to give you the results of the BQ poll, and tonight we did ask, do you support Britain's recommendations to try President Uhuru Kenyatta via video link? And I believe that we have the results for you.
Indeed,
we can just show them on your screen now.
About 65%, I believe.
Yes, 65% of you said yeah. 65% of you said no, while 35% said no. 65 no, 35 yes.
All right, let's take a look at this tweet here from D Mugo saying, "No, why change of heart now? We abhor countries that have the tendency to patronize others."
No, no, no. I still repeat, Uhuru should leave for the ICC. Uhuru is the president of Kenya. Let the ICC boss wait till the period comes to an end as president and fire up the case.
Chariot, Eric, Kip, you say very simply, yes, why not if it can be done? And just want to read another one. Lawrence Okumu says, I don't support it since they themselves told Kenyans that they will go there and clear their name.
That's all we had for you tonight. And of course, we'll have another question tomorrow.
Indeed, we will.
Get power information right at your fingertips. Dial star 551 # Kenya Power.
And that's all we had for you tonight, but we did enjoy your company. Enjoy the rest of your viewing. Have a good night.
Thank you. Good night. See you tomorrow.